Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to the final part of my end of season waffle series. 10 short videos where I just give a few of my thoughts on how I think each team and driver did in 2022. And today it is all about the world champions, Red Bull. It was actually a difficult start to the season with 3 retirements across both drivers in the opening 3 rounds, a double DNF in Bahrain and a DNF in Australia for Verstappen, all because of reliability. The favourite phrase in the media at the time was that Red Bull had built a fast but fragile car. And Verstappen did say, didn't he, after that retirement at Albert Park, that he saw no reason to believe in winning the title. Do you remember all of that? I think it all turned out okay in the end. It was just utter domination, with the team winning a total of 17 of the 22 races, including 9 in a row between France and Mexico. And they only failed to get at least one car on the podium at 2 races, and that was the double DNF in Bahrain and then Brazil. Absolutely staggering how dominant it ended up being given the start of the year. And yes, Mercedes were off the pace for much of the season and Ferrari were Ferrarying. But although they may have run them closer without varying issues, I still think Red Bull would have come out on top. The year wasn't without controversy, of course, but that was largely off the track thanks to things like the cost cap finding and the subsequent penalty that came with that breach. And no, I am not going to spend the next 5 minutes banging on about that because, like a lot of people, I'm sick of hearing the same thing said about it over and over again. They were found in breach of the rules, they were penalised, done. There was some drama, if you want to call it that, on track though, after Verstappen ignored team orders in Brazil, which has really stirred the pot at the team. They say it's all been sorted, but it's going to be really interesting to see how true that is next year and how strained that relationship really is. But anyway, none of that should take away from the job Red Bull did in 2022. And in time, I'm certain this will be looked back at in awe in the same way McLaren's 1988 season was, or Ferrari's 2002 or 2004 season was. On the driver's side, Max Verstappen was absolutely phenomenal this year, a total machine. Following his DNF in Australia, that race where he appeared to rule out the title, he went on to win 5 of the following 6 races, and between France in July and Abu Dhabi in November, won 9 races out of 11. In total, he won 15 races proper and 2 sprints for an overall total of 17 wins from 25 events, ending the season with 454 points. That's 146 more than Leclerc in P2, and of course clinched his 2nd world title in Japan with 4 races to spare. He now holds the record for most wins in a single season, and officially that's 15 by the way, because sprints don't count towards that tally. To wrap all of that into one statement, complete and total domination. He also comfortably beats his teammate in the qualifying and race head-to-heads, and his averages are impressive too. He averaged a qualifying position of 2.6 over the course of the season, ended up with a race finish average of 2, so 2nd, and scored, again on average, 19.7 points per race. There is one stat I find quite odd, if you like, and certainly interesting. So he won 15 races, but he only took 7 pole positions all year. Therefore, more than half of his victories came from somewhere other than P1. I guess that kind of just shows the pace that car had, especially on a Sunday. I mean, take Belgium as an example. He started 14th, but won the race by more than 17 seconds. Honestly, though, I'm struggling to think of something else to say, and that's for no other reason than the fact he was just so dominant, and certainly from mid-season onwards, never really looked under threat of missing out on the title. On the other side of the garage, Sergio Perez had an okay season, but although there were some real high points, he was a long way off his teammate come the end of the year, and with that car being so dominant, he really should have been a bit closer and solidly 2nd in the championship. Before anyone starts, I am not for 1 second saying Checo should have been right on Verstappen's rear end every weekend. He's just not on the same level as Max, and even in totally identical cars, I doubt he'd be able to pull that off. But again, that car was more than capable of taking a 1-2 in the standings, and Perez should have delivered that. His cause wasn't helped by DNFs, of course it wasn't, but he only suffered 1 more than his teammate, and that was thanks to a collision with George Russell in Austria. Don't get me wrong, I am not saying he had an awful year, because he didn't. It could, though, have been better. He did his bit for the team in 2022, though, and helped them to clinch the Constructors' title, which, as I often said about Valtteri Bottas at Mercedes, is exactly the job expected of a number 2 driver. And with all due respect to Checo, that is exactly what he is at Red Bull. I do feel a bit for him when it comes to the team orders. Are we calling it a controversy in Brazil? He's played the team game for Max before, and it would have been nice to see that loyalty repaid, and from Max's side, bank some insurance for next season, where he may need Perez's help again. But to be fair, those points wouldn't have made any difference as it turned out, and Checo would still have been 3rd in the championship. His stats are pretty decent as well for the year, with 1 pole, 2 wins, 12 podiums, and a total of 305 points on the board. His qualifying average for the season comes in at 5, with a race finish of 3.2 and a points per race average of 13.2. And let's not forget that win in Monaco, a really strong drive in tricky conditions holding off Sainz, Verstappen and Leclerc. If you remember, the top 4 crossing the line with 2.9 seconds between them. And now, because of that win, no matter what happens for the rest of his career, he will always be known as Monaco Grand Prix winner Sergio Perez. Just ask Monaco Grand Prix winner Olivier Panis. Overall, then, a superb season for Red Bull, and I can't get over just how comfortable it was for them in 2022. I'll make the point again that at least when it came to Ferrari, they were let off the hook a bit by some of the errors made by the Scuderia, but I'm not convinced even with a faultless season, anyone was stopping Red Bull and Max Verstappen this year. Going forward, they have the cost cap penalty to work around in 2023, and that could cause them some problems towards the back end of the year, so they will want to come out strong in the first half of the season. They also have a strong third driver now in Daniel Ricciardo, and yes, he's struggled over the last couple of years, but he really could help them out behind the scenes, and as I'm sure some of you will want me to point out, he could put some pressure on Perez. We'll see. We'll not get too much into speculation, though. Back to this season and to the drivers. I've not really got a huge amount to add on either of them, but to summarise, I wanted to see more from Checo this year, especially after that strong start. And Max Verstappen, well, what can you say really, other than my word of the video, domination. It was a shame as well that he couldn't break that winning streak held by Sebastian Vettel, I must admit. But all in all, what a season from Red Bull and Max Verstappen. And I'll tell you what, it'll be tough to bet against them taking the title in 2023. They have such a margin over the rest of the field in terms of performance that even an aero testing time penalty may not be enough to stop them. Unbelievable year. That is it for my end of season waffle series then, but you can let me know how you think Red Bull did in 2022 in the comment section down below. Now, I will be back in 2023 with some more content as always, but in the meantime, if you did enjoy this one, then please do leave a like as it really does help the channel out, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos or streams. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.